This is what happened to me that changed my life. I saw a chart. I saw a chart that is in the book, The Latte Factor. And this chart was handed to me in training to be a financial advisor. So in 1993, I worked in the World Trade Center. That's where the training class was. I worked at Dean Witter Reynolds, which became Morgan Stanley. And I lived in New York City. And as a part of training, financial advisors who have been successful come through and they share their wisdom. So this gentleman came through and he said, and he basically spoke for an hour. And he said, now, here's the thing, all of you in this room, all of you young kids, he said, I know you're not going to remember anything I just said, but I want you to remember this. He said, I want you to take the chart out that I handed to you. It's this chart. He said, notice that if you were to save $2,000 a year and you started at 19, if you were to save $2,000 a year starting at 19 and never put another, just save until 26, never put another dollar away in an IRA account. And the reason it's 2,000 is that's what the IRA tax rules were in 1993. And you just left, never put another dollar away, just left it alone. At 65, you could have over $1,035,000. He said, now, is anybody in the room 19? Nobody in the room was 19. He said, how many of you in the room are 26? A lot of us were. A lot of young guys in this room. I was 26. I was actually 27. 26, I think it was. 26. Yeah, 26. He said, if you go and save $2,000 and you do this every year until 65, you're also going to do very well. You're going to have $883,000. Still a lot of money. It's very interesting, though. Do you notice that this person doesn't catch up? This person saves every single year and doesn't catch this person. This, by the way, I'm going to get off camera here for a second. This is the chart that my son, who's 15, looked at and said, wait, Dad, I'm not 19, I'm 15. You need a new chart. I go, yeah, actually that chart is in one of my other books. You need a new chart that shows 15. But he's like, so I'll have what? What will I have? I'm like, you'll actually have over 2 million. So he took his calculator out. He goes, $2,000 a year is $5.41. That actually is the price of a cup of coffee. That actually is the latte factor. So I'm 27, I'm like, I have to at least, so he says, at a bare minimum, guys, and some gals, you need to go open up an IRA account and put at least $2,000 a year away. Because you'll get to 65 and you'll have some financial security. And then he said, look, you're gonna make a ton of money being a financial advisor. That's why you're all here. There's no reason for you to save $2,000 a year. You should be saving 10 times this ultimately. You should have millions of dollars by the time you reach retirement. But then he said something that's immediately got my attention. He said, but let me tell you a little dirty secret about the financial service industry. He said, most financial advisors don't have a pot to piss in. He said, so when you go back to your office and the average advisor in that office who acts like they know everything, who's in their 50s, they're broke. They're broke because it's like the cobbler's kids have no shoes. They helped their clients manage money who did everything right, but they're not doing everything right. He said, I'm 61. I'm retiring next week. And he goes, you know why I'm retiring at 61? Because I'm rich, and I can. And I've worked with all these retirees, and a bunch of them dropped dead in their 60s. And so I'm done. And today's my farewell party. And it was like he dropped a mic, and he's like, and all of you can be rich too. And everybody in the room stood up and gave this guy a standing ovation. And he said, so take this chart back and use it, and then show it to your clients and get their kids involved. Nobody got standing ovations in training. But that little chart was the catalyst that got me paying myself first and using an IRA account. This was the second chart. Similar idea showing you what happens when you start early or when you wait. So this chart shows the amount, takes $300 a month. That's how much a day, by the way? $10. Most people can save $10 a day. Would you agree? How many of you agree that most people can save, most people, not everybody, but most people can save $10 a day? Yes? Okay. 25 at 65 with 10% rate of return, it's $1,913,000. That's where you go, wow. Now, wait till you're 35. It's $684,000. Wait until you're 45. It's $230,000. Wait until you're 55. It's $62,000. Here's how the real world works. For a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people, at 25, most people at 25 are not thinking about money. At 35, they're hearing about money. At 45, they're worrying about money. And at 55, they're hyperventilating. And when you look at these charts, you know why. Because too many people start to get serious about their personal finances down here. So the sooner you start, the better it can be. I wrote the Latte Factor completely intentionally to reach young people, to reach the 100 million strong of Generation Z and Generation Y and the millennials. 77 million millennials. Bunch of you about to graduate too. The Latte Factor is the ultimate graduation gift. Anybody who's watching this and you're 55, you've got kids and you're like, oh, just I had known this when I was young. Buy this book just to show them this chart. Buy this course just to show them this chart. This chart, if you're a teacher, take this chart and in any class, you could be an English teacher, a math teacher, a science teacher, take this chart and show this to a 9th grade class or a 10th grade class or an 11th grade class or a 12th grade class. Because it's freaking black and white. The beauty of money is it doesn't know you. It doesn't know what sex you are. It doesn't know what color you are. It doesn't know who your mother was. It doesn't know who your father was. It doesn't know where you live. Money doesn't care. It's math. Money is math. And the beauty of math, to make you rich, it's basic math. If you can do basic math, like what's 10% of $1? It's a dime. That kind of basic math, that's all you need to know to be wealthy. I'm going to explain that. But compound interest is just basic math. This is another chart in the back of the book. Now, the whole book's a story. But this is a chart in the back of the book. Again, just showing basic math. $5 a day, $10 a day, $20 a day, $30 a day. I'm going to teach you this thing called the 50-20 formula. 50-20 formula is for people who want to retire early. You want to retire early in 20 years, $50 a day in 20 years at a 10% rate of return, which is what the stock market has averaged since 1926. So if you bought an index fund and left it alone, and we get the same rate of return since 1926, $50 a day in 20 years is $1,139,000. $50 a day in 30 years is $3,390,000. In 40 years, it's $9,486,000. You just pick your number and go through these charts. And later I'm going to give you other rates of return. Because it doesn't have to, you don't have to have a 10% rate of return. You definitely have to save 10%. The savings, the rate that matters the most is your savings rate, how much money you're keeping.